This man was about to break out of prison in broad daylight. Although the saw made a huge noise, he wasn't afraid of being discovered by the prison guards because his fellow inmates were throwing a party right next to him. They sang and danced, all to cover up the sound of the saw. As the man sawed through the floor faster and faster, the inmates sang louder and louder. Just as the warden entered the cell to inspect, the man had just finished sawing a hole in the floor. Then, his cellmate took out a treasured magazine and invited the warden to appreciate it together. Seizing this opportunity, Luca immediately crawled through the newly sawed hole in the floor. Meanwhile, another inmate deliberately ran into the yard and climbed up the 2-meter-high iron fence, pretending to escape. The purpose was to divert the attention of the guards, creating a greater chance for Luca's successful breakout. Hearing the commotion, the warden immediately realized what was happening and ordered his subordinates to pursue with police dogs. At this point, Luca had already sprinted 10 kilometers through a stinking ditch to cover up his scent. Despite being exhausted, he didn't slow down his pace. Next, he followed a cable away from the railway tracks and jumped back and forth over a pasture fence. He used this method to confuse the pursuing police dogs. Then, he returned to the railroad and continued heading north. To further mask his scent, he leaped into a nearby creek. After swimming back to shore, he continued running wildly towards the freedom he yearned for. His nearly insane behavior had worn out the pursuing police dogs. Seeing this, the other inmates thought Luca had succeeded. Unexpectedly, Luca was caught and brought back the next day. As a price for his escape attempt, the guards put the heaviest shackles on him. They thought this would prevent Luca from escaping again. However, what they didn't know was that the unyielding Luca had already prepared for another jailbreak. One day, while working outside, Luca asked the guard if he could go to the bushes to relieve himself. But the guard required him to continuously shake a small tree nearby. If the branches stopped shaking, the guard would fire a warning shot. However, soon the branches became still. The guard finally realized something was wrong. When he arrived at the tree, Luca was long gone. All that remained was a rope dozens of meters long. Luca had already run to a nearby shepherd's home. He borrowed an axe from a boy and easily cut through the heavy shackles. He then sprinkled chili powder given by the boy on his footprints. The police dogs quickly followed the scent but were left sneezing from the chili powder. Sometime later, the inmates suddenly received a magazine from another province. Inside was a photo of Luca with a beautiful woman. This made the surrounding inmates incredibly envious. However, just a few days later, the prison gates opened again. A figure they knew all too well was dragged back in.